This is the 1978 Mercury Grand Marquis, and over the past couple months or so I've been having some problems with carburetor flooding on this, and the problem would manifest itself as extremely difficult starting. You'd have to end up holding the accelerator pedal all the way down to try to get it to start, and it really hasn't. The problem just showed up kind of over the past couple months or so. After I got this ignition coil problem fixed, I started using the car a lot, and then it had this problem. And Organist 1982 was actually driving behind me one day. He was driving the Chrysler, and he noticed that there was smoke, a lot of smoke coming from the tailpipe. So I thought, well, it must just be running really rich, and that would explain the difficulty starting. So a couple weeks ago I took the carburetor apart, and the way it comes apart, you first have to remove a little E-clip on this on the choke linkage that hooks that up to the choke mechanism. And then there are 6 screws around the top that you remove, and then you can get the top off and get access to the float bowl. And a couple weeks ago I took it apart and I took the float mechanism out, and I didn't notice any connection between the float and the needle. And I thought that's just the way it was. I thought as the float went up, it pushed the needle down. But there really is a linkage that goes between there. And I don't think I would have lost that. I don't remember it ever being on there from the first time I took the carburetor apart. And I've got a bag of old carburetor parts from the original carburetor here. I took the original one apart to try and learn how to take it apart. And it's kind of hard to see here, but the needle, there you can see, is attached to the float with a little clip. And I actually first learned about that from watching a YouTube video. I think the user is named Mike's Carburetor. And I thought, wow, it's not shutting off the flow of fuel correctly. And not having ever worked on one of these carburetors before, I didn't really know that anything was missing. I've only really worked on Holly. So what I'm going to try to do, well, I first need to remove this clip that goes around this valve here. I'm going to take the clip, pop the clip off, and I can get the float off. And I think that there's a whole nother needle in the carburetor. I got a carburetor rebuild kit just to make sure I'd have carburetor parts on hand to do the repair job. It was only about 15 bucks. So I'm going to get the carburetor rebuild kit and get that little linkage put on there, and that really ought to improve the performance. So I'm going to try that, and then when I do, I'll have another video showing it, because I just took this car out for a drive and it performed horribly. It acted like the choke was turned on. When you try to accelerate past about 30 miles an hour, it just started acting just like there was no more power available. And I think it was a similar situation to the choke being left on. It was just, the fuel to air mixture was just too rich. So what I'll do, I'll put that linkage on, then I'll put the top of the carburetor back on. I'll just hold it on with one bolt, and then we can see how the performance improves.